Mr. X, what's up?
Yes, this is Mr. X.
Hey,
What's up, brother?
hey,
How you doing, man? You
can you
doing all
hear me?
right?
Great.
Can you hear everybody? We got, dude, hold on. Let me get this. We got,
Can you guys hear me?
what's that?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
I
We
can
got
hear
Doc
you.
in the
How are you,
house.
Doc?
All right.
I said we got
Mr.
Doc.
X,
We
are you
got
there?
Joe Bree.
Mr. X, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. X for everybody is our friend Michael Marcum.
Oh,
Ah,
I
Joe.
see.
Wow.
Everybody say hi to Michael. Michael's on the air right now.
Michael,
Hey,
hi.
Mike.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Mike.
We're
Welcome.
not
Thanks for coming
worthy.
back on, man.
We're not worthy.
We are not worthy.
So we're all gonna be quiet now. We're gonna let Doc start this off. I just wanted to say thank you,
Yeah,
man. It
that's
was it was really cool to have you on the other night. So just wanted to thank you again. Doc, take it away, brother.
No, can you hear me okay, Michael?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I mean, we have a big panel. You guys will go ahead and you guys can ask Michael questions. He's here. He wanted to join us just to come in. You guys feel free to ask some questions. We have five panelists now, Michael, and you know, kind of shooting the breeze. Really, we don't really have any
Don't
topic
sh-
per se. We're just kind of discussing a lot of matters. So yeah, you guys, Joe, do you have any questions for Michael, Joe?
not right off the head. It kind of just it's not exactly right now. So
You have to excuse my happy neighbors here. They like fireworks. Those aren't
Oh,
gunshots.
fireworks.
Oh, I thought those were gunshots. I was like, whoa,
It.
what's going on out here?
Oh,
that's
they
what
do that every night.
my house is like that every Saturday night, but it's actual gunshots. Like all my neighbors, because it's Texas, so
Oh, guns are a
Well,
little harder to get over here.
Can
yeah,
I ask something
that's
to Michael? May I ask a
go
question
for
to
it,
Michael?
brother. Go for it.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Good.
It's an honor to talk to you because first time I listened to you in an art bell here, so it's a dream come true to talking to you. I just wanted to know about like what's the theory behind it and who invented this Jacob ladder. I don't know much about the Jacob ladder thing.
The what?
Jacob's ladder.
I remember you
Oh, the
mentioned,
Jacob's ladder.
yeah, I remember you mentioned, yeah, you mentioned that Jacob ladder thing, the time travel portal thing. Time.
Oh, who invented it?
Yeah, because I remember it that you were talking to Art Bell about it.
Yeah, I don't know who invented it. I just, you know, I copied it basically.
And you have to use some sort of a transformer. So what kind of transformer that you use? Step up transformer or step down transformer?
Well, I stepped up a transformer, not with my initial Jacob's ladder, but with other things.
Uh, guys, I'm really slow here. Is this Madman Markham?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Just so I'm on the same page. I apologize. I
No,
apologize.
you're good. You're good, man. You're good.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm speechless. Like, wait. So, Mr. Marco, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I don't really want to, bring up any too bad of memories or anything like that. But I was just wondering, what was it? Or do you recall anything? What it was like here in Columbus?
What it was like in Columbus?
Can you guys hear
Yeah,
me?
At what point?
yeah, at when you landed in Columbus during your journey.
Uh, well, I landed in a field
Hello.
and I took a bus back to Cincinnati.
I'm having
Um,
trouble with my.
You went back to Cincinnati?
Tim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah, I can hear you.
Mike can hear you.
I can hear.
Hey, Tim,
Everybody,
can you
can.
hear
everybody can
me?
hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody can hear you, Doc. Can you hear us? Here, I'll let him know in a text that we could all hear him. But yeah, I was just wondering because I was in there and I heard that you came here. I was like, man, I really wonder what it was like back. You know what you had to go through must have been rough, difficult. Like, what was your first thought when you touched down?
My first thought, I don't know. Just I didn't really know where I was. I didn't have my bearings. I think I went straight east, which was odd. But I'm actually from Ohio, so I know the area. And
Okay, what part of Ohio are you from, may I ask?
well, I'm actually from Columbus.
Oh, dude, so am I. That's where I'm at right now. I'm from Cleveland, but I'm in Columbus right now.
Yeah. I
So
was
that's cool,
actually
brother.
I was in Cleveland just a couple years ago.
Oh, wow. Cool, man.
Sorry, I'm back, guys. I had a bad connection. I apologize.
I
You're
got one
good, brother.
for Mr. Marcum, if y'all don't mind.
Go for it, Joe.
So, uh, how much play did frequency modulation come into your experiments? I mean, I know it, of course, is going to be a cornerstone of any experiment like that, but like, what? Because I've used frequency modulators before, and you only have certain bandwidths that you can actually get to with most, um, I guess, commercial made, frequency modulators. So did you have to go off that chart and tune in certain frequencies that are not normally honed in by commercially consumed machines?
Well, frequency played a big part of it, and it would have been outside of any commercial range. It was kind of like modifying a ham radio to get all the hidden channels.
Right, yeah. So how did what kind of, I mean, like, because I understand the technology of it. I used to actually um, make my own uh, radio stations per se, which was totally frowned upon by the FCC. But so we did use a lot of modifications, including, dude, I had like a 60-foot tower at one time that we were broadcasting through. So
Was that for like a pirate radio?
yeah, and it even got to the we even ended up interfering on regular antenna television, to where you could hear the audio through the television stations. But
Yeah, it'll bleed through. You can cut other people off, and
right, yeah,
if you
yeah,
generate the right signals, you may get a visit from people you don't want to get a visit from.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we once we realized what kind of uh, position we could have put ourselves in, we shut it down quick, fast, and in a hurry. But I mean, like, what led you to? Did you have to like basically make your own circuit boards, or were you just using like amplification boosters, like, or any equipment like that?
There's a lab called the National Supercomputing Agency, or was it NCSA?
Okay.
They're out at UIUC, and in the mid '90s or so, that supercomputing lab, for whatever reason, they were unloading um, just all their electronics, older equipment, a lot of stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and some stuff from the 90s are just tossing it into the bin. And I just kind of had a heyday with a lot of that stuff. So I ended up building my own amplifiers and whatnot using a lot of secondhand stuff I found.
Were back then, were you using like solid state devices, or were you using like vacuum tube, or the older equipment as opposed to microchip technology?
I didn't use much of solid state, so it was mostly tube.
Dope, dope. And I think that's where you get the raw. That's where you get the good stuff. Like even if you break it down to a regular guitar amp, like tubes are so much better than any kind of solid state device. But yeah, I was just curious about the technology, man. I'll let everybody else fly with their question.
You can overdrive tubes a little bit more than solid
Right.
state. You have to dispense the heat with solid state, and they overheat.
Exactly. You get heat disposition or dispersion, and also they're designed to where they clip their own magnification, so you end up getting a square chopped off wave instead of a high peak natural analog wave instead of a digital wave. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, dude, I find that fascinating. Let everybody else, do the thing.
Michael, were you ever approached after your story, came out by any agencies at all? If you can disclose, for any sort of, I guess, to pick your brain to see if they can develop anything out of what you found?
Uh, what kind of agencies?
Just anybody, or just maybe just like somebody independent that were interesting. There's a lot of people that used to listen to art. I'm sure somebody that had the means would probably be interested in conducting. I know for a while there they were trying to collect so you can get the necessary parts. But after you concluded your experiment, did you ever get like anybody calling you up saying, "Hey, I want to kind of pick your brain. I want to sort of emulate what you did," or not?
I had maybe a few people visited me early on, I guess, but not later on. Not since, I don't know, 2000, 2001, somewhere in there.
That's been okay. And are you still like you used to do? You're self-trained when it comes to electronics, correct?
Um, I, I'm somewhat self-trained, but
Are, are you still working in any kind of similar sector now? Not necessarily electronics, but anything in regards to like machinery, equipment, design, anything like that at all, or you're doing something completely different?
I don't work for um, you know anybody. I don't work in the private sector. I don't um, you know I don't do that kind of work. Anything I do is just uh, kind of for pleasure. I've kind of retired from a lot of it.
So, what kind of hobbies could we find you in now? Like, what are your interests in now?
What are my interests?
Yeah.
Uh, just real simple type of things. I'm trying to. I've got a mongoose problem here, and
Oh, really?
they eat all the little chicks that I have, and the duck eggs and chicken eggs. And I built a device that if they crawl into it gives them a shock on the top of the head, and then they fall down.
That's pretty interesting stuff.
That's
Yeah, so
cool.
it's nailed to a tree. I have honey in there,
Uh huh.
and what do you call it? Like protein powder. And the mongoose, they crawl in there and they get zapped and fall into a bucket, basically.
Very cool.
And the funny thing is, mongoose fur, here they're considered an invasive species, so you're allowed to kill them year round.
Mm.
And everywhere else, and even in most parts of the world, they're protected. But their fur is highly sought after for paintbrushes.
Oh wow.
The highest quality, the best paintbrush you can buy is just mongoose fur. And you very rarely ever see mongoose paintbrushes. It's all synthetic mongoose. So here
Do,
I am. I'm knocking these things out and throwing them away when I could probably be making
you,
$2,000
yeah, that's it.
$3,000 a mongoose.
Right. No, seriously, that's what I was thinking. I'm sure. I mean, if is there like a local? Is there a local manufacturer for paintbrush? And you're in the main island, right?
I'm on well, right now I'm on Oahu.
Oahu, right? I mean, right. Is there anybody there that does any that type of work at all?
I don't think
Or
anybody's ever thought of it. I probably shouldn't mention it, um, but um, it's true though. You look at mongoose fur and paintbrushes, and you know if you can find one, it's like $500, $1,200 for a set, and they're very hard to
wow.
find.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, that's substantial. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Right. You said so
Yeah,
most of I'm doing online search, and most of them is synthetic, and the synthetic
yeah,
stuff sometimes goes for like $95 for a set. So let alone if something was legit mongoose, I'm sure it's gonna be for more.
yeah. Some of the really high quality synthetic ones, I think they're about $500 or so. They can get really pricey.
Do you have any experience like what do you call like when you get the fur off an animal? Uh, I want to say
Oh, the
scalping, but
pelt.
yeah, pelting.
Oh,
Have you ever are you familiar with the process?
I am. It's a little bit disgusting.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a natural way to do it. There's a show on was it Mountain Men?
Uh huh.
Some guy named Tom Orr, and he traps beaver, and he makes all kinds of items out of beaver pelts. And what he does is he takes beaver brains and he cures the skin and with brains.
So,
Yeah,
like, I guess the brain has a compound that would make. Is
it's
that to avoid the pelt from going bad?
it keeps the fur from falling out. You don't get patches
Oh,
falling
all
out. So
right.
that's what that's for.
And now
And
are the mongoose they like if they go in the water the water what is it called hydrophilic or hydrophobic I guess the pelt would it doesn't they don't get wet in other words, right?
no, they don't get wet at all. They tend to they almost kind of float.
Well,
But they swim really well. They can climb up any type of fence. Uh, I had one. It got in my it got in my chicken coop, and I shut the door because I was really curious to see if it could get out. Because I
mhm.
thought I had it pretty secured. I had the chicken wire. It was maybe a foot into the ground, and the stupid thing dug underneath the chicken wire and got out. So I mean, it dug a foot underneath and dug a tunnel right out.
Oh yeah, these guys will get everywhere, man. We had
Smart little buggers.
yeah, they're pretty smart animals. I had no idea actually that they were like an endemic species to Hawaii. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I probably caught 400 or 500 of them.
Really?
That
Whoa, dude,
many.
you could be
Yeah.
making some money off those guys.
That's what I was starting to think.
So yeah, it's I've always been well, and you said they're not obviously they're not endangered, they're endemic. So they're meaning I
Hmm.
mean they're probably God knows how many thousands of little guys are there. Because every time I hear about hunting, I always associate it with like this Tasmanian tiger back in the day when they kind of drove it to extinction, you know?
Yeah, Yeah, here they're everywhere. It's pretty wild. I mean, you can walk down the street and you see feral chicken.
Yeah, I've been to the island. I've seen a couple of those.
I
Hmm.
heard about that, but you can't kill them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're also invasive. Everybody wants them dead.
I heard that you weren't allowed to kill them for some reason.
I don't think that's true. Maybe
Maybe it's
you
just on
can't.
like the military base or something.
Maybe
You're
you
not allowed to
can't.
kill them.
Yeah, maybe you can't really kill them, but you can live trap them and
Okay.
take them home with you. But I mean, I've butchered chickens at home. Every now and then, there's a chicken or a duck that you know it's too loud. It's just I don't know. It becomes dinner if it becomes a nuisance.
Yeah, well, my wife is from Central America, and they have feral chickens there as well, and they say they're very sought after because the meat is it's different. The meat from a feral chicken, they said, is tastier than a kind of like a like a farm race, if you will, chicken.
I've heard very differently. I've heard they're very spindly,
Uh
chewy,
huh.
and tough,
Yeah, I
and
heard the opposite.
they're also scavengers. I mean, they'll eat anything. They're very skinny here, but if you raise them as pets, I mean, I have ducks that weigh. I have Muscovy ducks that weigh 18 pounds,
Wow, man,
and they can fly. So you
that
look
is
at an
really cool.
18-pound bird, a duck, and its wingspan. It's when it flies. I mean, it's like 4 feet. It's got a 4 foot span, maybe a little bit more.
So you Nick, do
Wow.
they just kind of they hang out usually in lakes, or they can hang out in the oceans as well?
They they're not too much of a sea duck.
Uh huh.
Um, but yeah, they absolutely love water. If it rains, I can't keep I can't you keep control of them. They go out to the street. They go wherever the puddles are.
Do you have the variety with the white neck, like the white neck and the red eye, or you have the ones with their like they're all black with the like
So
you know?
I have quite a variety. Some of my ducks have blue eyes.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's cool.
Um, I have a French Muscovy. She's all white with blue eyes. Um, I don't think I have any ducks with red eyes. They're either dark brown or blue.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture right now. They look pretty beautiful. I've never, I haven't been familiar with this kind of with the way that they look, but they look pretty interesting, pretty nice.
Well, I always thought Muscovies were the ugliest duck. I didn't. I
Really?
didn't. I didn't want them, but they can't quack. They only have a rasp,
Oh my gosh, that's
and the females sometimes they can let out a little bit of a quack, but they're pretty quiet. So I pretty
so.
much transitioned to Muscovies.
Where are you from originally in the States? Were you from Ohio? Did you grow up in Ohio?
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio.
Oh, okay,
He
because
grew
our
up in
friend.
Columbus. He said in Columbus, right where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all right. So yeah, both of you guys are from. Well, you grew up in Cleveland, but you live in Columbus, right, Tim?
Correct. Correct. My mom is born in Columbus. She's a Columbus. My mom's half is from Columbus. My dad's half's from Cleveland.
Hmm.
But I was
Now,
born in Cleveland.
before Art Bell went searching for you, were you interested in the kind of the paranormal? Did you ever hear about this guy before, or he just kind of found you and he just took an interest in you?
I don't think I'd ever heard of Art Bell before that. No.
How are you like? Do you have an interest in the paranormal, or it was more just like doing your research and doing your electronic experiments, or did you ever have like an inkling to research anything else like paranormal stuff, like the kind of stuff that we discuss in the show?
I'm not sure what kind of things you discuss about the paranormal, but it wasn't anything that I was directly focused on.
Okay, so all right, yeah. Where's Breezy?
Yo,
I think he's off the. Okay, here you go.
um,
Yeah.
what's up?
I know that
Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say, I know this is a little bit off topic and all, but do you have an uh do you have an opinion on CERN?
CERN, the particle
Had
accelerator.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Sort of. I knew some of those guys because I was, you know, I spent a lot of time in the Midwest. Uh, a lot of people did some work with CERN that I knew. Um, and there's LHC. Uh, an opinion about it?
Large high
Yeah,
LHC.
because there's certain theories that that they were able to somehow maybe travel or create enough speed to travel in time, and there's a bunch of different theories that have to do with CERN. I
I
just
don't.
wondered if you have
Yeah,
anything that.
I'm not aware that they can reach those types of speeds, and I'm not sure that would be the way to go about it. But
Okay.
No, Michael. With I know there's a lot of misinformation about you. Starting with what you look like, as you're well aware, because I've heard you talk about, the infamous guy with the red hair and long beard, whatever. But there's also some images of what basically of what you designed in order to be able to accomplish what you did. Is that drawing, is that something that's legitimate, drawn by you, or is that somebody just
no,
put it?
it's not an accurate depiction. I subscribe to it's called Typing Mind.
Typing mind. Uh-huh.
I think it's an Apple product,
Okay.
and it's got a bunch of extensions on there. One's called like DALL-E or something like that, and you can feed it some information. And I fed it some information, and 5 seconds later, it spit out some drawings. Actually, it spit out a bunch, maybe 20, and then I think I uploaded 2 of them.
Okay, I don't know if you have a.
But they're not accurate in any kind of a way.
I,
I
I,
see.
I got it.
There may be somewhat accurate in some sense, but not
And
not
and
an
as
actual
far
depiction.
as far as like all the information you divulged, when you were on all the, when you were on live radio, with all that information, was that be sufficient for somebody that wanted to emulate what you did to sort of
Mm-mm,
come close, or there's stuff that's
not at
missing in the
all.
recipe, if you will?
Oh, I don't think. No, nobody. You couldn't replicate any of that
Okay, so if some
from
guy
what was
listened
said
to
on the
your show,
video.
good. So if some person listened to all the shows that and they kind of they started jotting down notes, they couldn't come close to what I mean. I'm sure you left some stuff out purposely. I would imagine so.
Probably, yeah. The majority of it, I've left out. I haven't talked about it. A lot of it has to do with safety reasons. I don't
Yeah,
want people
that's what I
coming
was
after
thinking.
me. Yeah.
I got a question if y'all don't mind.
Go for it.
So Mr. Markham, are there any um, theories, not necessarily paranormal or cryptid or any characterizations of it, but are there any theories about the abnormal world that particularly um, that intrigue you, that you're into and want to find out about, or that you find fantastical or fascinating in the same measure?
What do you mean about the
Is
the
like,
abnormal world?
well, you got, whether it's paranormal, time travel, cryptids, things subjects that we all look for an answer to, but none of us really have an answer to. Like basically, almost like a hobby, but an intellectual hobby like missing 411, or is there any of those that you're like, man, I really want to get in, dig down into this and figure out what this is actually all about, you know?
I don't really have a theory or a thought about those types of things. I haven't really gave it too much thought.
Right. So you don't just subscribe to any in
I,
particular.
I wouldn't say I subscribe or that I don't subscribe to it. I just I haven't really put my mind there. I haven't really seen anything that would compel me to do so or not to do so, I guess.
Where do you land yourself as far as what they now call UAP, or back in the day, the UFO technologies? Do you buy into any of that? That it's we're reverse engineering, um, unidentified or alien technology, or like the Bob Lazar, type of thing. How do you feel about those?
What was the name of Bob Lazar's company? Uh,
I forgot, man. It's
uh, I can't remember it.
yeah.
Had a
I know
good name. He had that element. I forget the element.
Element one.
It,
Yeah, yeah. Element 118, 117.
something like that. That he won't doesn't want to talk about that he probably took. I believe Bob Lazar's story. I have no reason to doubt it. And as far as UAPs and UFOs, I'm certain that they do exist, and I'm also certain a lot of it is our technology.
I agree. I agree. Do you consider those entities or beings or whatever you would want to call it? Do you consider them interdimensional or actual extraterrestrial, if there were such a scenario?
Interdimensional.
Right.
I think there's two kinds. I and there's a lot of interesting stories about was it Admiral Byrd?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some stories of there's a rescue mission in Antarctica, and if you ever looked at Google Maps, even in the very beginning, and Microsoft had like Terra something, uh, those places were all skewed. I mean, they were covered up. It all looked like just a
Yeah.
block of white.
Yeah. Grid blocks. Yeah.
But there was a rescue mission. Somebody had a heart attack, and it was our base or American base. I don't remember what it was called, but there's a big no-fly zone for some reason, and they were told not to fly over that ever under any circumstance. But this guy had a heart attack, and the quickest way to get him to whatever assistance he needed was to go over that no-fly zone. And they said that when they entered that restricted area, that they saw a giant void, a big hole.
Wow. Sort of like with the Admiral Byrd sort of theory.
And his was on the other pole, the North Pole, and they also have a no-fly zone there.
Yeah. I
And
always found that.
if you read about our moon, it's got poles. They say the southern pole has a big opening, like a cavernous like opening, and then they also said it was probably filled with ice, which I thought was interesting. But
Cool.
I don't know
No,
what
as
to
far
make of it.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely something there because I remember when I think it was Google Earth when it first came out. I always, you want to mess around with the little spinning globe, and I remember you couldn't spin beyond the poles. That was like set. You could spin it in an axis, but you couldn't spin it up and down. Like the poles were already locked in.
Hmm.
And I was always wondering why would they do that? It's kind of odd. Like you just want to play with the thing, just spin it around. So that was a little bit odd. Now, do you? How are you as far as like? Do you ascribe yourself to any particular? Are you a religious person at all? As far as faith and the afterlife, are you? Do you have any opinions on that?
It kind of changes. What I believe in now. I think there's certainly a higher being above me. I just don't know what it is. But I don't have a specific religion that I believe in. Uh, but I do subscribe to. I believe in reincarnation. I do think that that's real.
Okay, fair enough. Tim,
Um, I'm I'm still just
sucking it all in, huh? Well,
yeah, man.
do you have any questions? Do you have any questions for us? I mean, we're just we always pick your brain. Do you ever, if you have any questions for us, like,
Uh,
and we appreciate you always coming on. That means a lot for us.
I listened for a few minutes. I don't know, a couple hours ago. I think you guys were talking about chemtrails.
Yeah.
Yes, do you have an opinion on that?
Oh, sorry, there's a helicopter. There's a lot of
Uh,
military action here.
do you have an opinion on what we were talking about earlier?
I didn't hear a lot of it. Um, I have my own opinion about what I think HAARP is.
Cool.
Uh,
Could you?
Yeah. Would you expand on that?
well, it's technically a ionosphere disruptor.
Hmm.
It tends to create like a blister or a burst, and you can. I'm quite certain you can manipulate the weather with it. You can probably base because it's frequency based. I'm sure you can probably get inside people's heads in that sense. It's probably advanced enough to where you know people can hear things that um, they're manipulating people.
You- Jesse Ventura used to have a show in the early 2000s, 2001, and his first, forgot the name of the show, but his first episode was about HARP. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what he said. He
Oh, is
says
it?
that HARP has the ability to basically implant thoughts or be able to mess with somebody's perception. Exactly what you said. That's what he said.
Well, everybody kind of runs at their own frequency. I mean, we all have a very similar frequency.
Yes.
Isn't it
There's
called
a
like voice? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, voice to skull
Voice
technology.
to skull
Yeah,
technology. Yeah.
yeah. I haven't heard that term, but yeah.
yeah, and a lot of it, like we were talking about earlier, like what I forgot your name, man. My bad. But we were talking about the schizophrenia aspect running a lot higher than it used to be, and
JB.
yeah, JB, yeah, and that could, potentially be a part of that
I don't think that's. I don't think HARP is doing that. I think the way society has moved in the last 50, 60 years has caused that. Just with
like
the
it's
ways
more
technology has advanced, um, with all the medicines they give people, I don't attribute that to HARP, although I'm certain it could uh, trigger that.
right. Do you
Uh,
think it could be more like of a a catalyst, or like even the 5G aspect.
Dude, you
Like,
said it. I was about to just say that. Thank you, bud.
Well,
yeah,
there's an
like,
interesting thing about 5G. Even where I'm at, they wanted to ban it here. It took a long time for 5G to come to Hawaii. Everybody was against it, and somebody had a. They were growing. They were trying to grow. They had like an indoor seed bed or something, and a 5G tower went up, I guess, and it wouldn't grow. Nothing
Hmm.
grew ever, and he couldn't figure it out. And it I guess it dawned on him one day. It was the cell tower. The frequency was not causing the seeds to germinate.
Yeah, I can see that.
Causing sterilization.
And then you got to wonder, well, what's it doing to humans?
That's interesting.
And there's a high sterilization rate now. I mean, there's a lot of birth defects. There's a lot of things that have happened. You remember Zika?
Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
I think it was here in Hawaii. I remember it because I was living here, and it was in the news for a week or two. I had everybody scared when a baby was born with a small, like a Beetlejuice head or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and then it
sorry.
just disappeared. It left a news cycle, and I don't think it's ever come back into mainstream media. But
No.
when that happened, people were going around. It was city workers. They were spraying everywhere for mosquitoes. Wherever there was a bush, they got hit with chemicals. And that went on for about a month. And it was when Zika was in the news. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. And I have not ever seen them do that since then. Not on that type of a scale, anyway.
It's kind of odd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in California in the 80s, and I remember when we had some kind of encephalitis. I remember they used to have the helicopters go around and spray malathion.
Mm-hmm.
And this would happen, this would happen probably like maybe once a month for like a few years. They will tell you to stay indoors from like 7 to 7:30. You have a helicopter spray malathion or all over LA, and then just, what was that?
Fireworks.
Fireworks.
Who's having fireworks?
I live in the party side of town.
Okay, okay, that freaked me out. I was like, was that a malathion helicopter trying to shoot at us?
Doc's from LA, so
Doc's like, oh no.
Yeah, I was ducking, man, because I grew up in LA, so that's
Breezy's just he was reaching for his his 6-shooter in his pocket.
yeah.
I just poured a shot.
But yeah, I in regards to like the schizophrenia and the waves, I think if you think about people with schizophrenia are more of a cost for the government because they have to, they have to basically provide free medical care, and I don't think the government's in the business of spending. So I kind of agree with Michael in regards to that.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a side effect of how society has grown and
Yeah.
changed. I used to know somebody. She worked at the city of Monroe for the water company there, and she said the owner for the city water, he never drank tap water.
Huh.
He always drank bottled water. He wouldn't drink their own water. And she
Why?
asked why. And he said, he says, I get kickbacks to put things in the water. It's called fluoridated water. And there's other things. There's also,
Wow.
what is there? I can't remember. There's a few things. Well, there's chlorine, but there's also fluoride, and there's
fluoride.
Sometimes not lithium, but what's the other one?
Lithium is in there too.
Yeah. And what's the one psychotic, antipsychotic?
Pro. Well, it's not an
Prozac.
antipsychotic.
Something like Prozac in a way. Not
Well,
Prozac.
that makes
Something of the
its
sort.
way. They have Prozac type of medications, and also when what makes its way into the water system is when females are in there, they take the pill.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
makes that makes its way
Now,
to
Well,
the water supply. They
Yeah,
can't get rid of that.
yeah, and then the fish mutate and they may
the,
become unisexed, or maybe they can't reproduce at all. They
Right.
or
mutate.
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
AZT
birth
from the
control is a
from the
big part of that.
plastic.
Yeah, I've heard of that before.
yeah, when I was a kid, I did a. This shouldn't come as a shock to anybody, but I did a couple of years in a mental institution, and
Hmm.
they would give me equal amounts of Prozac and lithium. Like,
What do you think that did to you?
it just kind of zombied me out. I mean,
Because
but I didn't understand.
the way it works, that stuff, it's supposed to make you what you have no emotion. It's
Exactly.
it's an emo killer.
Right, right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And
yeah.
then
That's why
people who are on those, they take it and they don't realize the way that they're acting, and they end up talking without a filter, and they end
Right.
up saying things you wouldn't normally say.
That's probably kind of why I am the way I am now.
So yeah,
'Cause
you might
I
have outbursts and you might offend somebody, but it certainly helps a lot of people who are traumatized too, because it suppresses those
Mm,
types of
mm.
thoughts.
yeah, I agree.
But then with SSRIs, there's also a high suicidal rate too.
That
There is.
is true.
Yeah,
you know the
the thing that drives me nuts is when you get these parents with their kids, 5, 6 year old, and they're like, bouncing off the walls. I mean, you're supposed to bounce off the wall when you're like 5 or 6,
And it's probably because they
especially.
have sugar.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Grandparents.
They have sugar. They have
And
sugar. They
and
come in their house. They don't. Nobody plays outside anymore, so they're
No.
bouncing off the walls. And then the parents are like, "Hey, can you give me a referral for a psych?" Or when I think my kid has ADHD,
Right.
and
and tell
so
you
yeah.
for
they're
the
all doped up.
And
They did that to me when I was a kid. I was just like not like I'm an outside thinker. I just wasn't like the rest of the kids. I was super smart, and they said I was not, because I wasn't like everybody else. They put me on that. I hated it. I never really got to take. I never took it very often, but
my
I hated it.
understanding of a lot of the ADHD or ADD meds, I mean, that's the I guess the good ones are amphetamines, but
Yes.
if you take a low dose, it technically I think should make you more active.
Yeah,
And
par, par, paradoxical. Or what is it? It's supposed to cause the other effect. Like if you
Well,
and
and
I.
it caused me to slow down.
but yeah, if you get the right dose or a higher dose, it can cause you to slow down, but it can also cause, well, if you take it long term, and I guess some people have to, you could end up with uh, some cognitive impairments because it can overload your brain over time. You end up
Definitely.
over processing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
when we were young, back in the '80s, all it took was a good chancla upside the head, and that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's
You
or just
learn
we
your
used to
role
go.
real.
Listen, I used to skateboard to school. That was like 5 miles away, and I used to come home and play until like my mom called me in. And that's
You
where
used to
my
skateboard 5 miles to school.
what does that
Really?
sound? Is that near? Is
Was
that
it
close?
was it
Is that
uphill in the snow too, with no
yeah,
shoes and
barefooted.
socks on?
I
Baref
used to skateboard to school, and before school started, we'd get together and play soccer or
right.
football.
5 miles, dude. Wow.
Look at you, Tim. And
We
yes,
always had energy to burn. We would get
you
up
did.
early and play a game before school started.
And child obesity was like, I mean, there was like probably two chunky kids that I remember, and there's probably one like, when I was in elementary school. This was back in like the mid '80s.
Yeah. I think we had one large guy. We called him Jimbo, but his name was Jim. He was a very big guy, but everybody else, there weren't very many obese people.
No.
Not at all. And we were very active back then.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a 13-year-old. His BMI was, about 40. I think the kid was almost like 250, 275, and he was, so
Yeah.
very sad.
They call that grossly obese now,
Yeah,
morbidly obese.
morbidly obese, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of
So
people,
So
a lot of people
go
don't
ahead.
want to go out and get jobs or get, you know, 9 to 5 jobs either.
That's true. Very true.
I do. I kind of got
Uh,
a question for Markham. If anybody, if you want to jump in, Tim, go ahead.
I mean, mine. I was just gonna say, I have like one of my good friends. His brother-in-law worked at, let's see, it was Ashtabula,
Uh
in Ohio. He worked for the water treatment. He was like the he still is like one of the head guys there. And I used to talk about chemtrails to him, and he didn't believe him. And then
huh.
one day
Oh,
and then he talked to his brother-in-law one day, right? And he told him about all the chemicals and what they had to put into the water. And
uh huh.
after that day, he absolutely not only believed me, but
Hmm?
would never. He said he would rather drink water from out the
I see.
ground. So yeah, what they put in the water is there's so much different. There's so much stuff in the water. I just had to get that out because
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it causes so many different things that's going on. Go ahead,
No,
Joe.
many years ago, I used to have a plane tracker or flight tracker app, and 'cause I was always kind of curious about what was flying over my head, and it would give you their tail number, their flight number, their registration number, whatever it is. And I think there's a website, was it Flight Aware? So you can go look up these planes. But the other thing I notice is there's a lot up there that is flying around unmarked
Yes,
for
Dude,
whatever
that's
you're
true.
reason.
right. Mike Decker, he has a YouTube channel and he talks about exactly what you just said, and
Oh yeah.
he tells you exactly the plane that's coming, the make, when it's coming, and then he'll show the planes that aren't, and he'll zoom in on it and he'll tell you what it is, and yeah, but yeah, and it shows, he shows all that. He's military, he knows, like,
Oh
he's really
yeah.
good at that. Mike Decker, for anybody that doesn't know.
Hmm.
Danny, he's in the chat, I'm sure he knows. So sorry, not to interrupt.
No, you good, brother. I was just gonna ask Mr. Marco, how do you feel about the current AI technology? Do you give it as much credit as people
Bless you.
are, as far as conspiracies go? Do you really think that being abundant, uh, just being a tech guy, you know what I mean?
Well, I use it just to correct my own stupidness.
Yeah,
I might
I
have
know.
it proofread something,
Yeah, yeah.
but I read something about AI, and I'm stealing it from this person. AI, when it writes whatever it writes, you can tell it has no soul. It, it,
Hmm.
it doesn't sound right. It feels like it's generated.
Right, I
And I
agree.
guess they have software out there that can catch that. And I
Well,
attribute that to, yeah, it has no soul.
well,
It
what I was getting at was more along the lines of like almost like a Skynet principle. Like, okay, so say if AI comes up with something, um, learn something, then instantly it can spontaneously network with other AI, and then that AI can grasp that information and um, come to a point to where it's exponentially more intelligent because of the fact that there's no like the game of telephone when we were kids. You know what I mean? Like that kind of an aspect. So as soon as one thing learns one system learns it, it can communicate with another system and actually evolve that system onto its uh, current platform and bring it up to date, so to speak, and continuously replicate this process until it's it's almost smarter
Sounds
than.
more like a virus.
Right,
Sounds
right.
like the D-Wave.
Yeah. Do you subscribe to any of that, or what's your feelings on that?
Well, there was an article, 6 months ago. It was it was by the Air Force. They did a simulation, and the AI, um, the guy, I guess, at the controls or whatever, the AI overrode him because he was trying to abort the mission. So the AI killed the pilot to complete its mission.
Right. So like,
You know,
it could literally consider um, its generator obsolete, and then uh, potentially create um, new AI to instantaneously grasp the same knowledge. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I was getting at, like
yeah.
I
I mean, it's going to eventually get there if it hasn't already. I mean, a lot of it right now is just it's just
yeah,
and NVIDIA video cards or whatever they use.
yeah.
you know, I
Which
think
But it hasn't gotten to the point where it can self-replicate by building more of the components it needs to replicate and continue on.
right.
It can
What,
certainly do that. There's no reason why it wouldn't be able to, but it hasn't gotten that far yet. And
yeah.
hopefully, it doesn't get that far.
Right. What worries me about it, personally, just on my own thought process, is because it is software programming, just like you said, and it can put itself in any root command in any file anywhere, and then you know, you know, it's a vulgar way to describe it, but kind of like herpes. Like it can hide itself and then come back way later. You know what I mean?
well,
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Joe, the thing is this. The thing is that when this thing becomes sentient, that's when we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Um, some people think it's already gotten there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard that too.
I mean, we kind of talked about this yesterday. I think it's almost here, right?
I
It's
heard,
really hard to say because who knows how far it has really advanced. We just see the commercial or the private sector of it,
Right.
exactly.
and you know China, I'm sure, is very very advanced, and I'm sure the USA is very advanced, and other countries like Russia are they're trying to catch up. But
Yeah. I agree.
it's it'd be kind of, I think it would be frightening to know how far advanced it is, because I think it's much more advanced than people might think. They had CPUs, processors,
Yeah.
um, in the 50s and 60s,
I
Mm.
agree. Yeah.
and
But it wasn't for commercial use,
no,
like GPS was like back in the gap. You could narrow it down, but up to 10 feet or up to 10 mile. The older uh, the older it got, but really that was civilian and
There's civilian and military GPS.
Right, and
Hmm.
military GPS could get you down, within 10 meters,
Well, it's more accurate than that.
much more accurate. Correct. Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. 100%. They got a grip on it that they're not going to let us see, and uh, 10 years from now, they'll let us get a glimpse into partially what they saw 20 years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
here, I'll ask a question. What do you think about all this energy efficiency? These regulations that are trying to they're trying to enact, like you can't use a was it a gas stove?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't. They want to stop people from using air conditioners or something like that.
Yeah.
Anything that uses what I've noticed uses a lot of fossil fuels or energy. It seems like they're trying to cut down on that.
Yeah. I
And
100% agree.
what, if you start thinking about it, it makes me wonder, what the real purpose there is.
Right. What are
Are
You
we
they?
trying
probably
to are we trying to conserve for something?
you
Uh,
probably want to put the Middle East
in,
out of business.
in the last 10 years, I think China has imported 70 billion barrels of oil, and the United States has imported about 40 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking earlier. It's a microchip versus vacuum tube. It's like
Mm-hmm.
steering they're steering us into a direction to where um, they're narrowing the gate and pushing us into a certain technology. And why are we not to be steered into a more or not natural, but more of the alternative thought process as far as technology goes?
Well, you got to think about the Middle East as well. If you start deviating away from oil, the Middle East is going to start.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have that. The money's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah,
And
I think I was kind of leaning more towards the aspects of there being another war. This country hasn't produced helium since what, the 40s or 50s. We're just the helium nowadays just comes from old reserves, and
that's what I heard too.
you can't even go buy it anymore.
What do you feel about helium-3?
I read somewhere, was it in Australia, they just found helium, a huge deposit of helium-3. But yeah, that helium-3 can fuel a city. It's highly efficient in that sense. It can be converted to energy, and you don't need that much of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like
I don't know the process of it, but
yeah, yeah. It's
I know
not
the moon is full of it. The
moon's
moon is very abundant in helium-3, but supposedly our Earth is not. But I
yeah,
guess somebody just found a huge helium-3 deposit.
yeah. I've heard that too. Like me personally, you know, no prejudice, but I'm a flat earther. But yeah, I've heard that about um, the helium-3 deposits from the moon, and I find it intriguing. I'm not exactly sure if that's where they're actually getting it, just because of my personal beliefs, but wherever this saturation level that they're pulling it from, or where they've located it, apparently, yeah, it's a big thing, and it's almost like talking um, the what I'm drawing a blank, but the process of pulling hydrogen from water, um,
Mm-hmm.
cold fusion. Yeah, that type of process.
fusion, I guess. Cold fusion means that the lack of, I think it's the lack of energy, lack of, cold fusion is that you don't create heat by producing that, correct?
They've never really perfected cold fusion either. I
No, I
don't
don't think
think.
that. I don't
No,
think that. No, I don't think they ever did.
Well, yeah,
they're still trying to.
right. I think even though there's a lot of people that have discovered it and then ended up disappearing, the process or the potential of free energy is very it scares them, and they don't like it. They don't want it out because without the help of an energy corporation, whether it's through fossil fuels or anything like that, you know, um, free energy scares because there's no monetary value once you have free energy, and then monetary value, as we know, is exponential as far as um, the the governments or the powers to be need to give it to the people, so we rely on it. Kind of like back in the day with Latin and the Bible. If you don't know Latin, then you have to go to the church in order to read the Bible. Without that kind of a process, like you need us to give it to you, so
You need a man, basically.
you're gonna hand over your bread in order for us to give you the truth, or in order for us to give you energy or electricity or any means that is sufficient for you to live by.
It
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of that song. Is it 16 tons? I sold my
Yes.
soul to the
Yeah.
company
Yeah.
store or where it
So the
was.
company store. Yeah. Exactly. And that's true, man. Like, and like even Elon Musk, because we have a Tesla factory here in right outside of Austin, and it's basically like its own whole town. Like they can go to work there. They can get their little house and on the land and on the property, but it all comes out of your paycheck. So you know,
Yeah, well, there's places in California where a lot of Google techs and whatnot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and to me
Hmm.
that's crazy. It's like going way, like you said, like the 60 cents. What do you get? It goes back even to um, like whenever they had the the Asians come over and work in California for gold mining and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you can come over, work your what off, but oh, this bit comes out of your rent and your tent, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that
crazy.
was a horrible thing
Yeah,
that they did to them.
the way humans do humans is,
Yeah.
or way I would say the elite does the poor. You know,
Maybe we were taught that way. Aren't we supposed to be like the worker race?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's encoded in our DNA.
right, yeah, and
I've
it,
I,
always I've always thought that the human race was probably a defective race.
I'd agree.
Hmm.
I would agree.
no kidding. We're very sheepish.
Especially now,
Right, but
more
True.
than ever.
it's been ingrained for so long, sharecropping, you got, and that's just in modern times, that's what two generations down from where we're at today. It's a very adamant point on the fact that um, colonizations and tribalizations, um, what do you have to offer in order to survive within a community, you know?
Hmm.
and we just do it. We go out, we do our 9 to 5, we come home, and we pay taxes on a house that we barely stay at, because the list goes on and on. You pay taxes for a house, or you pay rent for a house that you don't stay at because you got to work to get a place to stay, and then you have to pay taxes on a car that you drive back into and fro work just to pay taxes on the food that you eat or the consumerism that you buy. And we're ingrained in it, and it's all we know. So we're just kind of. I wouldn't even say sheep, because at least sheep get to take a nap all day, and,
Yeah.
and eat grass. You know what I mean? So it's more of a uh, labor laboralistic, monetarial driven slavery. I mean, that's just
It's
yeah.
it's not going to get any better. Not
I,
anytime soon.
yeah, I
I
agree.
mean,
Until
you know, I don't know what milk costs in Texas. It probably costs $1 a gallon or something like that. But
no, it's like almost
three,
$4 a gallon. Yeah.
my local store here, they want $12.99 a gallon.
Are you serious?
Jeez.
Oh,
Hmm
that's
A
Oh
crazy.
my
dozen eggs is like
gosh.
$6 to $9 for a dozen eggs.
That's
Phew.
Paid. I bought a gallon for 2.67 today, and the eggs were $1.29 from the farm, off of a farm.
Yeah, it's
What are
part
you
of
guys
the
paying
reason why I
for?
have. Oh,
What are
go
you paying
ahead.
for gas? What are you paying? What are you guys paying in Hawaii for gas?
Uh, it varies from island to island. Um, I haven't looked lately. Uh,
Because we were close to in LA, we were close to 7 at one point. I think now we're back to like $4. But yeah, it got pretty crazy.
on Oahu it's cheaper. I think it ranges from like 3.79 to 4. On other islands, it got pretty close to 5. I mean, last year I remember it was like 4.79 a gallon
yeah,
Okay.
at one point.
paying Oahu prices. Yeah, we're about at that three and a half to four range, and
Hmm
that's for the. But let me grant, that's for the good stuff. Not the 87 octane. That's for like the 93.
Not
Was it?
I don't believe that, man. Only certain
What's it?
vehicles that are required, like if you have a newer vehicle and requires 93, I think in California we have 87, 91, and 93. But to a regular vehicle, it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Out in the Midwest, sometimes you see E85.
Yeah, you still see it sometimes.
That's for
It's
farm
always,
equipment, your lawnmower or
yeah,
something.
yeah. I've watched a girl once or twice try to stick it in the and in the gas pump, try to pump it, and it doesn't fit. It's kind of
I
funny.
I had a Jetta, a diesel Jetta,
That's a good car to have.
and I think I was in Oregon, and I pulled into a truck stop. So I like to use the truck pumps because I could fill my tank in like 5 seconds. And but I think I was using just a regular diesel, and they have the green handles. And here I am, I'm pumping diesel into my car, and somebody says, "Hey, idiot, you're pumping diesel into your car." And I said, "I know it's diesel, but
One time I had somebody, there's a person that was asking, they were asking what the numbers meant. They thought that was like that was the day that the
How
gas was
old it
made.
was? Yeah.
Yeah, that
yeah,
was like if it was like 93, that was like the day that they got it off the ground in 1993. Sort of like aging wine, you know?
yeah." But
But
at that Oregon, I was just driving through, and I guess they have like winter grade diesel. I had never heard of it before, so I ended up putting that in my car because that was the only thing that was available. And I got out onto the freeway, and I was blowing black smoke out the tailpipe. I
Huh.
mean, pretty heavily, pretty thick. And I got pulled over, and the cop yelled at me and said my engine was blown. I shouldn't be driving this thing, and it was just because of the winter grade diesel. I guess it
It,
has
perhaps
high
some kind of
sulfur or something.
or some kind of coolant. Maybe prevent from. Well, these are. I mean, it has a different. It has a. Goodness
Maybe as an
gracious.
anti-gelling agent, or
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with I got a '06 Toyota, 2000 Toyota. Basically, it's a Solar, but basically a
The
camper.
the British
But
are coming. The British are coming.
Oh yeah.
it knows like knows if I put cheap 87 octane in it versus 93. Like, and I've never had a car like that, but this one, like, it knows. It's like, hey, dude, you just put some old 87 in me. Like, I'm not having it. And it'll act stupid. And then if you put the 93 or the good stuff in it, it'll
Starts
act,
behaving.
yeah, she'll act right. You know, she's like, thanks, bro. All right.
That's funny, man.
While we're kind of talking, I know this again, but while we're talking about Hawaii, Mr. Mark, get, did you have any, how were you affected by the fires that happened in Hawaii?
I wasn't on that island, so it did not directly uh, affect me.
Okay, good, good,
It
good. I
was
was
on
just wondering if,
it's
But did
on
you notice?
Maui.
Did a lot of people migrate? I guess because there was a point in time when the whole island was emptied. Correct. So you probably saw a lot more maybe traffic, more people in the stores.
Um, well, it was in a small town called Lahaina.
Okay.
Um, not, I don't think it's very well populated. It's a very small coastal town.
Well, so the island wasn't evacuated. It was just the Lahaina, the city of Lahaina was evacuated.
Well, yeah, there's also there's a volcano there too. It's extinct, but
Hmm.
I mean,
interrupted, didn't it?
like the valley is kind of run down into Lahaina, but it's on like a peninsula out there, northern peninsula. Um, so it only affected that part, uh, and the people that lost their lives and their homes, they were all relocated, but I don't know where a lot of them went. They're not ever coming back. It's a toxic wasteland there. It
Oof.
it literally just burned into the ground, and then they I guess the ground became very toxic um, for whatever reason, and so I think they put this chemical to try and maybe mop it up or break it down, but it's probably never going to get rebuilt.
That's
That brings me to a good question, man. Because you're a technology guy. How do you feel about direct energy weapons? Like all the
That's a good question, bro. Good one.
Everything I've seen as far as a forest fire
yeah,
doesn't burn like that. It it happened so quickly that people were still, you know, they were downtown
And they,
shopping in stores, and they started smelling smoke. Some of the kids thought they were smelling s'mores, and so it came on so quickly that they didn't have a chance to evacuate. And
it
no,
was, the
well,
fire moved 60 miles an hour.
my
That's how fast it
goodness.
was going throughout the
yeah,
town. And yeah, did you
it's
hear
not a
about
very
the,
big town, so
right? Did you hear about the people? I mean, I've heard many first hand. I don't know if you heard any about the people that were trying to get away. There was many people that were evacuating, and the police were kind of had like a blockade and weren't letting many people go. And it seemed like that's where a lot of the people were in their cars
yeah, yeah,
when trying to get
yeah.
away.
There's one or two exits out of town, maybe just one, and they barricaded it for whatever reason. Although you could drive around it, but a lot of people didn't think to do
Some
that.
did.
Well, I
Some
mean,
Some
did.
did.
what
Some
So
did.
I
the
was
ones that drove around it got away from it. A lot of people ran up into the hills, up to the volcano, but it's extinct. They ran up there for safety, and then the only other place to go is they jumped in the water.
The water.
And some
Yeah.
people survived, and some people did not. So
Boiled.
they they I don't know what happened to them.
but what I was
I,
at, Mr. Markham, is like, okay, so on a say if it just theory, we're just talking theory. On a direct energy weapon, if you were to um think about and like what kind of propulsion system do you think would be used on that? Like, are we talking like, because if that is a fact, these things are coming from like satellites, or so are we talking?
Well, it's already a fact that um,
Is it like plasma?
satellites have been. I don't know what they're doing. They're mapping out structures or something. So there's actually been several incidences with lasers being spotted.
yeah,
Okay.
I can tell
If it
you.
happens during the day, you're probably not going to see it, but at nighttime, it's going to be very visible.
And
And
You
what
know,
happened to Lahaina happened in the
in the day.
somewhat
Yeah.
early, maybe I don't know,
Hmm.
before noon.
It was when the kids were supposed to be at school.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't a school day.
Yeah, they
so
called school that day, which is another, something to think
isn't
about.
isn't that the satellites and satellites and laser? Isn't that the whole premise of the Star Wars program back in the 80s when they were supposed to
And that
shoot
was
down
the
missiles?
Reagan thing.
yeah, the
Right, but
reg.
that was laser based, right?
Uh,
I think it was laser
Probably.
based. Yeah.
I don't
But
think they talked too much about what it really was.
how
And
how how would
what
you
did
think the power supply would actually? Because okay, say you got a satellite that's going to produce, either a plasma or a laser beam. The power supply for that thing has to be, significantly large. I mean, wouldn't you think?
not
Um,
really.
Yeah,
uh,
I think
why?
Mr.
Why?
Markham nailed it the best. It's like, I think
No,
he nailed it the best. Go ahead,
well,
dude.
because I know that
Well,
like
there's also
and
payload. I mean,
and
so if you
and
have a very large object, how are you going to get that up there?
That's what
right,
I was just gonna say. I did a show with he's still military. He's a helicopter in the military, flies helicopters as an instructor. And I asked him these same questions about DEWs and direct energy, and he said you definitely can't carry a direct energy weapon on like a helicopter. It would have to be higher up, and the higher up would mean, because if it was lower, then people would actually see it, just like Mr. Markham
Hmm.
said. And he said most likely, if they were going to do it, it wouldn't be at nighttime because again, it would be recognizable.
Mm.
So most likely, it would be during the day. And he proved, he brought a lot of different stuff to the table that I'm not able to just to say exactly, but to put it all in a nutshell, I mean, he definitely said that technology exists, and
yeah. Well, what I'm getting at is because I know like voltage and amperage is pretty much almost inversely proportionate. You know what I mean? Um, lower the amperage, higher the voltage, higher the amperage, lower the voltage. I mean, unless you got something to school me on. But yeah, so like, would it, if you were talking a direct energy weapon um, that could fire enough, um, I wouldn't even know if it was laser or plasma. I wouldn't even know the current that it would take, or the energy source that it would take. I mean, because you're talking, once you're up in the upper end, you can go as far as solar power or battery power. So I was just picking your brain on that part of
Well,
the
there's
power.
also very crude methods that are very effective. If you can imagine a rail gun up in space,
Ooh,
the amount, the
yeah,
inertia, the amount of force when a rod strikes into the ground.
dude, I never even thought of that. That's all right. Cool.
Well, maybe I
Keep
should
going. My
mention
bad.
that.
No, no, just mind blown for a second because I never even
But
went down that road.
well, I mean, there's that type of technology, and that's easy to do, and that's would be very destructive.
Dude, that's awesome that you said that. You just off the wall. Like, really? Yeah,
I think
like
we
railgun
You,
technology.
you don't
That's
really need lasers, but lasers are they're
yeah,
definitely out there. There's proof of it.
yeah.
There's just not much proof as to how powerful
What
they are.
Right. Yeah, because there is no because there's not a chart. They don't give us that technology information. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
that's dope, man. That's dope. I dig it. All right. Breezy out. I have. I just got
you,
so with the
schooled, man.
speaking of the direct energy, did you hear anything about in the Hawaii with the blue laser?
Do you mean green laser?
It was actually blue, but I mean,
no,
like
it's spared blue, right?
yeah,
Spare
yeah,
things that are right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it was because it was a blue. It was like because it was a blue. It was actual blue laser that was being shot, and it was going around things that were actually blue. Is that does that make sense?
I haven't heard that.
Okay. I saw yeah. I wouldn't be able to pull it up right now, but yeah. Because
But
like
there was
when you see it, there was like certain things like it was almost like the fire had a mind of its own. First off, it went 60 miles an hour. So what fire it had to have a catalyst, some sort of wind to blow it 60 miles an
it
hour to
was a
Well,
go.
windy. There's video of that. It was pretty windy day actually. There's a
it
guy
was
that
Yeah, but
it
it
was
was
very windy. It was very windy on Maui, and I can see Maui from where I live on the Big Island, and we had a lot of wind that day. And the first reports that were coming out was that the Big Island uh, set Lahaina on fire, and in order for that to happen, fire on the Big Island would have to fly over a 20-mile, 30-mile channel of water between the two islands,
yeah.
and then
nah. Don't
go
buy that one.
over. I don't know. Then go over like 100 miles of forest, and then drop down in Lahaina. But initially, the first reports were
All right.
the fires on the Big Island sparked the Lahaina fire, and that's
Wow.
But
impossible.
But it could have
Yeah.
been windy that day, but you got to understand there was a gust of wind simultaneously as the fire started that reached over 80 miles an hour. It literally brought the fire at 60 miles an hour and burned down that part of the island in the matter of like minutes.
Yeah, so
It,
it's not uncommon to have 60, 80 mile an hour winds. That does happen. I mean, it happens just about every year. But it hasn't really ever happened before. So why did it happen now? I guess.
right, and simultaneously as this fire happened, why hasn't happened since and never happened before? I don't know. I just think
There
there was
used to
there
be a
some sort.
well, like in California, they have seaplanes. I think that can scoop up water for the forest fires,
Yes, they can.
and they used to have those here, but they retired them all.
Wow. Yeah.
Dude,
I
totally,
So
saw.
there's no effective way to really put out a forest fire.
totally off the subject. But have y'all ever heard that story about when they were cleaning up a forest fire and they found a dude with scuba gear and
Yeah,
wetsuit in the middle
I
of.
I
I
heard
think
that
I heard that story.
they
I
couldn't
mean,
figure out why in the middle of a fire there was a guy with scuba gear. They thought you went out there trying to fight fire. You know.
yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to laugh at another person's demise if that was actually factual, but I just found that. I just found.
Maybe he knows the guy who washed up on a California beach in a tube with a cell phone in 1930.
Oh yeah.
I just read that. Like that's
That's
just a minute
funny.
ago.
Hey, do
Uh,
you get do you get recognized? I mean, I know that nobody knows what you look like, but just by the name, do people ever like kind of look at you twice or not really?
Most of the time, no.
Okay, so that's a good thing. I would assume.
so I could have done shots with you at a bar and never even known it was you.
Probably not.
Dope.
That's awesome. That's one thing I admire about you the most is the fact that you didn't, and I listened to your last interview with Art Bell, and even then Art was trying to talk you into writing a book, and you were like,
Oh,
like I just admired the fact that you weren't out trying to sell a story. You weren't out doing this for publicity to get interviews. What you did was, and you stuck with that, over the years. It was like 20 something years. You pretty much stuck to your guns on that, and that's something that's admirable because a lot of these people would exploit every bit they could and write books and movies and etc. And have you ever thought about writing a book or maybe creating a documentary or a movie or something about your life or journey?
yeah, I have. Uh, and I might consider doing that. I just, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like a back burner thing.
Michael, did you ever connect with the people that were there that night when you went through the gate, if you will? There were people there, correct?
Not that particular day.
Oh, I see.
What I thought I heard you say, if I'm not mistaken, is there was about 25 people that were there. Or did I misunderstand what you were saying?
There were several people there. I don't know if it was 25, but um, yeah, a lot of people, I guess, witnessed what it could do.
But not the day of your voyage, if you will. You were there by yourself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm just doing shots for every time I hear fireworks go off. I
Can
mean,
I
Oh,
can I ask you
well,
this? What was going through your mind before you decided to jump?
maybe I was doing shots before I jumped.
I like this guy.
Yeah, man.
So
That's
you were throwing like I know they said that I watched many different documentaries on you and theories, and they said you were throwing couches and objects through there first to
I
test it
guess
out.
initially, I, I think a couch that was in another town, but
that's
yeah,
What happened
yeah.
with that? What happened to the couch? I didn't really, you know,
I don't remember what happened to the couch.
did
I
it
think
never
there's a
come back or
story.
what?
I think there's a story that there's a cat on the couch, but that's not true.
Yeah, I heard about a cat. There's always a. I heard
There's
about.
always a cat. Marley said he doesn't believe that either. My cat doesn't believe it either.
The cat would
What's
have
cool is
jumped away from that.
now you could have, if the experiment had been taken, if it took place today, you could put an Apple AirTag on one. It'll probably get fried though, but at least you will kind of know the location of the
No,
couch.
it probably would make it actually.
An Apple AirTag that would be cool.
So, Mike or Mr. Markham, are there any? Do you actually watch or um, dig any of the investigations that go into your particular story? Like, you got like the Y Files recently did one on you. Of course, Art Bell, but do you actually keep up and look into those? And if so, what do
I
you?
I don't go looking for them. Uh, Sometimes people send me links and I'll look at them, and but I don't actively seek them out. I know there's tons of them, and everyone has got their own spin.
Yeah, the Y Files did one on you recently. I think it was about
3 weeks ago. It was
yeah,
3 weeks ago,
Hmm.
yeah.
and it has millions of views, dude.
Dude, it was
Millions of views.
yeah, and and I was actually watching it, and I had a couple homies over, and I'm like, "Yo, that's the cat I was talking about from and they learned a lot from it, and it got turned on to your story and well, I wouldn't say your story, your experience. Let me correct myself on that because I believe there's a big difference between a story and an experience.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's turning new generations on to what you went through and what you experienced with your own realm. And I'm just wondering if you dig it or if you uh, kind of want to just put it all behind you and not really uh, try to relive it anymore, or if you're like, well, yeah, that was me, yeah, that
Well, it was so long ago. It's it. I guess in a way you kind of relive it. It's not something I really think about. Uh, I didn't know they were going to do that. The Y Files. Somebody said something, and I think I just happened to read it like an hour before it started, and I think I clicked on the link, and I think there was like 3 or 4 thousand people waiting for it to start, something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah, man.
it was
Dude,
dope. Yeah,
it was a really good. It was good, and if you read the comments, dude, there was thousands and thousands of
Uh,
comments, and everybody, first off, from science to Art Bell fans, loved you. I read many that said like I talked to, I like specifically called in and talked to you on your Periscope call in '95 and or in 2015 and said that like it was their greatest experience and and I was like commented back like I just talked to him an hour ago. You
uh,
have no idea. So many people are fascinated by what you do, and it just amazes me that there's new stuff about you constantly.
I guess so. There's other
So
people out there that say they know me too, but I don't think I know
yeah,
them.
I just read an article that you were saying it was so with you saying don't believe anything these people are saying, and
Oh,
they were saying it was some crazy stuff like they had that you were living in Ohio, still building a time machine in 2022, and it was just a whole bunch of nonsense. So
well, there's a
got to
lot of
take the
stories out there that they're saying I'm trying to still find my way back home,
Yeah, I heard that.
yeah.
yeah, I've heard
But
that one too.
and
Michael,
I
what?
was out gambling at was it MGM? Uh,
They got
when I was in Ohio a couple years ago.
when I
Yeah,
look
it's
at
the
your
GM. It's the MGM. It is the MGM. It's the MGM.
so if I look at your profile on Facebook, it says here that you worked at a former CIA experiment, or
It
is that
does say
just
that.
or or you were just being tongue in cheek about that?
Yeah, who knows?
That's all right,
The man of mystery.
The
Mr. X.
man,
I
the
like it.
myth, the mistake.
Dude,
Does your
I dig your
Yeah,
style.
there's like Ted Kaczynski at Harvard. The CIA. Uh, that's where they go harvest people.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
Even today, it's the same tactics they used back then, and they already know who's their prospects, and that's how they recruit a lot of their people.
We
I
were talking
agree.
about RFK assassination a few days ago, and about the whole thing with Sirhan and
Hmm.
how many bullets were fired, and there was supposedly there's a leading theory that it was actually a security guard that they had just hired the day before. So because of the amount of bullets that were found and the amount of people shot and the capability of where they came from, and so yeah, when you say stuff like that, it leads a lot of credence to where they're recruiting people to do things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with Ted Kaczynski, well, they're doing experiments on him, and they were trying to break him. And
Mm.
it wasn't just him, but the psychological effect that I think he endured. Um, he became a different person. He was still highly intelligent, but
Wasn't he part of
he
the
had a war
LSD
on the.
experiment?
No, I don't think he was part of the LSD
Yeah, I,
experiment. I think they tortured him with. They would try and convince him of things that weren't true. It was like
So what they talk about, what they call gaslighting now.
kind of like a form of gaslighting. Like they would want him to do things, and then they would belittle him and say you're all wrong and try and confuse him. They were trying to break him, and it went on and on and on. And they could have done some other things, but they didn't just do it to him. He went off and he didn't like technology. He was against the
yeah,
industrial,
yeah.
Well, he was
complex.
actually he was part of the Harvard LSD studies.
Oh, was he part of the LSD studies?
Yeah, I knew that's
Yeah.
not. I knew that's what I knew. That was one thing I remember the most about it was he was part of the LSD
Hmm.
uh, studies, as a matter of fact. And it says the CIA did the CIA experiment create the Unabomber? I would think so.
I absolutely believe it did. And I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but the CIA, would handpick people from Alcatraz off of California there.
Oh
And
wow.
one of their most infamous people, Whitey Bulger,
Whitey
Yeah.
Bulger.
was part of that experiment.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
And look what he accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
South.
He owned what, Jersey or something like that,
No, South Boston. Southie
or
is
Boston. Yeah.
Boston. Yeah.
South Boston. Yeah,
They caught him as he was the Johnny Depp plays him in Black Mass. That's a great
Oh,
movie.
does he?
yeah,
Yeah, Black Mass. Yeah, they caught him in California. He was living in Santa Monica.
He
yeah.
Hmm.
was
It's
old
old man.
with the hot. He was old
Yeah.
with the hot chick. Didn't he have a hot chick,
No,
younger hot chick?
no, she might
No,
have
they
been a
were.
little bit younger, but she was not
Yeah,
hot.
both old.
She was
Yeah,
probably in her
Well,
70s.
it
I
might
think
be
she's
hot
I
for
still
you.
alive.
It could be hot for you,
Might
Tim.
might have just been the movies. You know what I'm saying?
He was gone for like 20,
that's
25
Ohio hot.
years.
Is that the Ohio
Eh,
That's
I
Ohio.
don't know,
97?
man. Come down to Ohio State campus. You'll be shocked. It's not bad. It's not
No,
bad.
I'm just messing with you, bro. That just sounds.
I, that's funny though. I mean, it's not nothing like USC or UCLA or something, but you know.
No, trust me, man. Leathery girls here in California, their skin gets all messed up after 30.
It's definitely no University of Michigan, I'll tell you that right now. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, a bunch of juggalettes.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to get off
Yeah.
topic. I thought that was hilarious.
Wow, man. Yeah, they did that dude wrong. The more I'm looking at Ted Kaczynski, I mean, I already knew I watched his documentaries and stuff, but the more you look, they really, I mean, not that he was a bright mind, and they just exploited it, and that's what they seem to do with a lot of
Yeah, he
people
had an
that they can
IQ of,
manipulate.
I think, 167. Even Whitey Bulger was highly intelligent, and you know, they screwed with their heads so badly. They you know, they had no fear of wrongdoing, I guess.
So was Charlie Manson, to be honest. I mean, I think we could probably, some of us could agree that he was kind of influenced by the CIA and
I have no
what
no
he.
idea about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Manson. But
I got
most of the guys, in order to plan crimes, they have to be pretty bright people, you know?
Hmm.
I got a few on Manson, but yeah, that's for another show. But yeah, we'll get into that,
On
eventually.
what? On
The
what?
uh,
Manson?
yeah, Manson and who he was,
But
because
he was CIA though, correct? We could at least establish that. Yeah, he was part of the CIA studies, or he was CIA,
I
right?
think I think he was just kind of gated into it. I don't think he was corralled. Uh,
Right. The same concept as
but he was he
like
was
Ted
re-
Kaczynski in a way, you know.
He was a frustrated musician.
yeah, he was really really
Seriously, like
he
Hitler.
was.
Hitler was a frustrated painter. Then this guy was a frustrated musician.
Yeah, no, Doc's right on that one. But yeah, he was. If you talk to or listen to a bunch of interviews with cats that were with him in prison, Manson was kind of a, pardon my French, but he was kind of a bitch and didn't. He wasn't really about nothing. He was just really a big talker. You know.
The only thing I remember about him while he was incarcerated was that you know, he didn't think he was crazy. He thought everybody else was crazy, and
Yeah,
he lived a. He was very. I don't think he really spoke to anybody there. He was.
Yeah.
He liked
No.
isolation.
I remember when I was a kid, they had a famous interview on TV, man, and this guy. That's when he tattooed a swastika on his forehead, and this guy was like jumping up and down, and he freaked the hell out of me. I was, I was in like my early teens, and you see this guy totally like going nuts, and they made an impact. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? He would like jump and start dancing, and
Yeah. It first started out as a cross on his forehead, and then he turned it into a swastika.
so you
But
know some. He married some girl. It's funny, but a lot of these guys, man, they have all these girls that they either married them or they become like pen pals.
yeah.
And yeah, she was a pretty lady.
Yeah, Ted Bundy, same thing. Yeah, it,
They
that's a
might
weird.
just do it for the notoriety.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
well, you don't have nothing else to do. You're locked up for life. So what else kind of notoriety? You gained your fame on the crime that you committed, and then once you're incarcerated, then yeah, you're gonna try to live each piece up, and that's why like a lot of the serial killers, um, they keep coming up with new bodies so that they can get out, go and show them the spot. Oh yeah, I killed this, well, unalive this person here, and it's just really so you still got that um, claim to fame, I guess you could say, which is what a lot of those cats
Well,
do. I mean, that's my personal opinion on it.
They
according to
still want.
Wikipedia, oh sorry,
Um,
go ahead. My bad, dude.
I was just going to say that they all still want notoriety. They want to be back in the news, like BLK, and
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, they want to be relevant again.
mhm.
Yeah. And what else?
There's like
What
those
else have you got
Idaho
to do?
murders or something, and like for some reason they wanted BLK's input on it, so he was once more relevant in the news cycle, which was odd.
That's true.
Yeah, in my opinion, man, if they're really about it, about it, and just want to do the thing and get it done with, then you're talking like the UT shooter, a bunch of those kind of cats are just in and out and don't want to have anything to do with it. And then you got the cats that go in and then they just really want to ramp up the story just because, dude, you got nothing else to do. You know, it's either go to rec, go to chow time, or go see an interviewer. You know, you're like, I don't blame it one bit. You know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They got to make their life relevant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, soak up time, man. That's all you got. You know, in that situation, you know, but on the other hand, you know, there's straight up truthers and there's straight up people that, you know, like Mr. Markham, you know, they have nothing to gain for it, you know, nothing to benefit out of it, and it's just, you know, here's what really happened, here's what really was, like Mel's whole, you know, that that cat, you know, they're just, you know, they're just
People
regular
really
ass
believe
cats.
Mel's whole.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I mean,
Oh yeah,
anywhere you can.
what's your thoughts
Mel's
on it,
The
Mark?
really funny thing is that it may have
Brookie just
actually
said it.
existed, but I think it was just a pit that they threw garbage in and then covered it up. But
So
it
you
wasn't anything like it was, told on the show. It was
so
near
you
Ellensburg.
don't
there
buy
was a. Oh, you didn't write that.
no,
There
you
He
was
don't
a
doesn't
show
buy
on.
it.
depth on it and all that. Like how he put all the weight on the fish or the shark fishing line and went down to, I forgot what unfathomable depth it was. Like
It was a
the
couple of miles, man. It was like 100 or 40, something like 40 miles.
it was like yeah, something like that.
There's a show on Prime Video with Josh Brolin, and it has kind of like the same premise. This guy finds a hole in his property. It's called Outer Range. I don't know if you guys have seen it. They only made one season, but he has this weird hole in his property that kind of takes him into a weird world and resurrects people. I think it's probably like I mean, I'm sure they got the main idea from the Mel's Hole story, but yeah, it's a well produced show. He like travels back and he brings dead things alive. If you guys have Amazon, it's called Outer Range. It's really well acted, but I
So
think it has the whole premise of Mel's Hole. Yeah.
Hmm.
so Marco, that's your whole gig on it is like it was, but it wasn't, but it,
Well, I looked into it. I don't know, for some reason I got a little obsessed about it, and I looked into it pretty deeply. And I didn't go there, but I've been to the Cascades there, and from everything I heard, there may have been a hole there, but it was filled up a long time ago, and maybe like a construction company is there now. But if it was ever what it was said to be, I mean, it would people would have known about it years before the story came out.
What's your take on like things like Skinwalker Ranch? Have you done any research on that?
I think it's more of a magnetic anomaly.
But do
oh,
you
you
do,
got
do,
me
do
there.
do you buy the whole thing with with like
It's the
shapeshifters or
Uinta Basin.
right?
Oh, it's.
Exactly.
Have you heard of the Oregon vortex or
No, I haven't.
Mm,
No,
the
mm-hmm.
San
no.
Jose? Is it San Jose?
Or new.
Yeah,
There's a couple of magnetic anomalies. One's in uh,
I want to say
somewhere.
New Mexico, but no. The Oregon vortex. Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's another one in California, and
Oh
it's all
yeah.
a illusion. Um,
The
and it's due to probably due to magnetism and maybe the composition of the earth below, and maybe it has something to do with tectonic plates, pressure. I don't know. There's there's a magnetic anomaly there, and I think was it the Uinta Basin? Is that what they call it? I think that's what Skinwalker and Blind Frog. They're all part of the same area.
The
And I
So
think it's all
mystery.
just illusion. What you see is not really what you're seeing.
Huh.
how do you
Optical illusion.
right? How do you feel about like ley lines versus quote unquote ley lines versus magnetic electromagnetic frequency points on the Earth? You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's absolutely something to that. I think pretty much every pyramid on Earth uh, corresponds to ley lines, and there's some sort of energy source there, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, folks. Well, we don't want to keep you too much, man. We're gonna. Um, it's 11. What time is it in Hawaii? You guys are like 3 hours ahead of us. I mean,
It's 9 o'clock.
oh, it's only 9. Okay. Yeah,
He was
we don't
like,
want to take too much of your time.
no, I mean, I even if we close it out, man, I honestly want to say it was really cool. I mean, not just picking your nugget about these topics, but just actually being able to um, chill with you about it and talk to you like a normal human being talks with a normal human being, not like a CNN interview or something like that. I just think that's really, you know what I mean? Like, and I dig it and I appreciate it, and I don't want it to fade into the scope of um, something that was a informal interaction with another individual, and I appreciate that 100%.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for real.
And we're we do this every day except Sunday, so you're always welcome to join us. If just like we did today, just inform me, and Facebook will bring you on. Obviously, we have
Okay.
different topics, but yeah, it's been a pleasure. We just I don't want to impose too much, but I appreciate like sentiment is mutual. Thank you for just being open to have a few guys just pick your brain and be able to give us that opportunity to just ask you questions, man. It's been a true pleasure.
Yeah, no
I-
problem.
Is there any way I could ask one more question? I have three people text me to ask you a question, which I
Okay,
wasn't. It's okay if you don't want to answer it. It's all good. But I was
go
just gonna
ahead.
say, have you ever heard of the Mandela effect? That's
Yeah, I don't believe in it.
okay. That's simple. Cool. That's that's it.
It's
Simple as
easy to
math.
get confused by it, but I don't believe in it.
Yeah, there's a. I've caught myself especially with movie lines. The movie lines can get they can get distorted pretty quickly. You think you heard
Bears,
something.
Berenstain Bears.
The what? What
Yeah,
was
that
that?
one too. The Berenstein Bears, or however. Yeah.
Yeah, no. There's rational approach. You can't jump from A to A lot of people jump from A to Z right away. There's a lot of steps in between that I think is valid. It's like you lose your car right away. You're like, oh man, it was abducted by an alien. No, it's probably towed because you parked it in the red zone.
Yeah.
But you know,
That's a good analogy, Doug. But
yeah,
yeah,
no, it's true. I mean, there's we have to do a due diligence and try to do just try to deduce. But there's some stuff. There's some stuff that's got me with the Mandela effect. But when you think
Dude,
about it, when
I
you
I
think
looked
about
get
it,
into
it.
it, and
it's
it gave me a
People
headache.
spend years of their
yeah.
life on it, and there's lots of what's it called, residue, um, to
yeah, I
back up a
believe
lot of
there's
the stuff.
I believe there's a thin line between false memories or just remembering something wrong But there is a good grip of it that, like, that and what I call it is like kind of like the wow signal. It's like a wow factor where you're like, dude, I completely remember that. Like the Fruit of the Loom having the
That
Yeah, that one
was
got me. That one
yeah,
got me.
stuff like
The
that.
moniker,
what
the
about Fruit of the Loom?
The
lion laying with the
The
lamb.
the
well,
cornucopia in the back of the fruits.
uh,
I was, as a little kid, I thought that there was a cornucopia in the back of the fruits, and it turns out if you research it, there's just the fruits by
yeah,
themselves. There's nothing in the back.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
yeah.
What about the wow signal?
Well, no,
The
I was comparing it to the wow
oh
factor of because there will be like a Mandela effect that hits you, and you're like, no, I know for a fact, and it creates that wow, whoa, like that is real, but where it's not just necessarily a false memory or not remembering something correctly. That you're like, dude, I know, like, I can smell it, I can taste it, I can remember it, but it never existed.
yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't like to really read into it. I like to remember
No,
things how I think I remember them. When I look at that, it kind of corrupts the mind. And then you start thinking, was I wrong all these years? And,
yeah,
I
Mm.
don't I don't want to go question myself.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
don't think there's anything to it. Maybe there is, but
shot, another shot. All right.
goodness
yeah,
gracious.
it goes on for another 3 or 4 hours.
Is that that must be that's the Disney place, Julani or Juwani or whatever?
What's that?
Go what?
Where's the fire? Is it Hawaii
No, it's
just
just
kind of shoot?
it's just my neighbors.
Oh man, this one
It's
cool.
individuals here. It happens all over the island.
Sounds like
Yeah,
fun to me, though. Honestly, I love
Uh,
fireworks.
I
You
bet you
can't get enough booms for me.
it can get
there's a lot
really
of people
rowdy
with
here.
there's a lot of people with four fingers in Hawaii, man. I tell you that much.
Sometimes people will walk down the street and they'll grab a ladder from somebody's yard to knock a mango out of the tree, and then put the ladder back and continue walking down the street. That's kind of how the life is here.
That's cool, though.
Or an
That's cool.
avocado. Avocados are kind of like the size of
those
like a softball or something. They're
Oh, I bet.
huge.
What?
Yeah,
That is so
I
good.
lived in
They're
the
probably
Caribbean for a while. I can attest to that. But we had huge mangoes and we had huge iguanas in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Ever
those
so
people
often you hear be a huge iguana, huh?
those people with four
You
fingers
would
are
have
all
these.
people. I'm just playing.
They're pets.
Oh, they
They're,
got 4 fingers.
yeah, the lizard people.
Oh,
the
okay.
lizard people. I hate.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, Mr. Markham, for coming in today. We really appreciate you. You're free to come in whenever you want. Just hit us up on the Facebook page. Um, Thank you for just hanging out, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Okay, my
Yeah,
friend.
man.
Take
Yes, sir.
It
care.
was cool
All
talking
right.
to you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go. Bye. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm pretty tired.
Right on, brother.
Alrighty, man.
You guys
Good night.
sticking? All right, guys. No show tomorrow. I'll see you guys on Monday. Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
Great show,
Sounds
brother. Yeah.
good, everybody.
All right,
It was a
Breezy.
good
Take care, man.
show. Everybody that stuck around, thanks for sticking around. Have a good night. God bless. And we'll talk to you Monday night, 10
Talk to you
p.m.
Monday night.
Yes, sir. God bless. One love from straight out of
Peace.
Texas, baby. Peace.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining another episode of Strange Days Live. We had the pleasure today of speaking to Mr. Michael Malcolm. I'm hoping we can get him more times here in the air. You can go ahead, call, or just write questions for future events. Thank you again for joining us. another Saturday night. Enjoy your rest of the weekend. God bless you guys. Signing off. Strange Ace Live. Peace.